fan. Good morning. I hope you all are doing well. If you're visiting with us, we're very happy you're with us. Very happy indeed. Some may know some neighbors, maybe some of your family who may have something missing a little bit in their life, something they can't put their finger on the pulse. It may be a good time while we're discussing family to invite those, especially who have families, invite all, because there's so many questions that rise in our minds. What we're going to do as a parent, how we're going to raise our children successfully. Hopefully, we'll be able to answer some of those questions. Well, boy, I tell you, the power of home, building strong families. We'll be on this for a little bit. Today, I want to talk a little bit about training children. This will be the first part. I want to approach it a little bit different this time. There's not going to be a whole lot of instruction, really. More or less setting the groundwork for raising a family. In Proverbs 3, Solomon said, "My son, do not forget my teaching, and let your heart keep my commandments." My son, a father to a son. And we should receive it that way, a father to a son. Let's go a step farther. How about a father or a mother to a son or a daughter? A parent to a child. Parental instruction intended to help a child grow up and become successful. The emphasis is on not forgetting my teaching. That's the negative. The positive is let your hearts keep my commandments. Listen to what I say and live accordingly. This is the encouragement Solomon is giving. One responsibility of a parent is to teach their child to make right choices. That's a difficult thing to do. But it's one of the obligations of a parent if they're going to be successful in what they hope to do. And of course, we all hope to do the same thing. Fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, Paul said, but rather bring them up, raises them up. You're building. It's like an assembly. You're building a person, a human being. You're building a child of God, intended to make them into the image of God. Bring them up in the training and the admonition of the Lord. He's the teacher. It's my teaching. It's my commandments. As a father, I've learned the teachings of God, the commands of God. And now my obligation to my child is to do what my father did to me, and that is pass it on. Teach them about their Father in heaven. Teach them the importance of observing the teachings, the commandments that God has placed upon us. It's a matter of life and death, ultimately. Implied, there's a choice to be made. It's going to be God or mammon. Everybody makes the choice. Everybody born into the world, except for those who are not mentally capable. But for the rest, there's a choice that's going to be made. This is the whole purpose of life, is to make that choice. We either make it correctly or we make it incorrectly. It's just that simple. It's so simple when they put it that way. It can't be true. It's too simple. Oh, but it is just that simple. What will we do? Will we serve God or will we serve our belly? That's to be determined. Emphasis is placed on making the right choice. Obedience alone isn't enough. One must desire the right choice. It's not enough to merely go through the motions. One must go through the motions for the right reasons. Now, this is the responsibility of a parent. It's an awesome responsibility, huge responsibility. Because the people that are most important in my world are at stake. I'll be successful or I'll be a failure. Now, sometimes people are successful, but things don't turn out the way they want them to. That happens sometimes, but not most of the time. Most of the time, those who strive to mold children into the image of God will be successful. They'll watch their sons and their daughters leave them and go on to live godly lives, righteous lives, and they'll have hope in the salvation of their baby. It's a job well done. And for me personally, there's been no greater satisfaction in my life than to have been successful in doing that very thing. What greater thing have I ever done in my life than produce two people who made themselves over into the image of God? And now they're raising their families and doing the exact same thing I did with them. That's success. That's success. We make a choice, though. The consequences of the choice are also made. Disobedience is going to be punished. We know that. And faithful obedience is going to be rewarded. It's just that simple. One choice. The right choice, the wrong choice. The right choice is rewarded. The wrong choice is punished. Life is more simple than we think it is when you boil all the fat away. There's not much left. This rule is as old as man, Cain and Abel. One made the right choice, one made the wrong choice, remember. Abel offered his sacrifice by faith. Cain offered his sacrifice the way he thought it should be done. Cain lost. Abel won. Deuteronomy 4:9, Moses wrote, "Only take heed to yourselves, diligently keep yourself, lest you forget the things your eyes have seen, lest they depart from your heart all the days of your life. And teach those things to your children and your grandchildren." Proverbs 19:18, Solomon. Poor Solomon. I wonder how many times Solomon wished he'd heeded his own teachings. He didn't, you know. He knew the right words. Problem was he didn't live it out in his life. And he wound up raising a Rehoboam. But he gave us wise words. "Chasten your son while there is hope. Do not set your heart on his destruction." Proverbs 29:17, "Correct your son. He will give you rest. Yes, he will give delight to your soul." There are benefits to keeping God's teachings, God's commandments. Your length of days, your years of life, and your peace. God's commandments, God's teachings, will add length of days, years of life, and a more peaceful, joyful, abundant life. The advantage to following the teachings of God. When we raise our children to know God and to make themselves into the image of God, we're helping our children enjoy the best life has to offer. That's not saying there's not going to be difficult times. We know there will. But all in all, the best life that can possibly be lived in this world is a life lived according to God's method. You just can't beat it. Solomon went on to say, "Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Do not abandon the way of righteousness. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Keep them close. Don't abandon the love of God, the faithfulness to God, because there are benefits to be enjoyed. You will find favor. You will find good success in the sight of both God and mammon." There are great benefits to be had for the person who follows the teachings of God. I wanted my son and daughter to enjoy the best life they could possibly live. So we tried to the best of our ability to teach them the ways of God. We encouraged them with all of our might to follow those ways, because the benefits are just absolutely out of this world. In the end, you find comfort. There was a time when I predicted comfort, and today I experience comfort. And I've had no greater joy in my life than knowing my children are the children of God, and their children are children of God. I hope their children will be children of God. I hope we've got a trend going. What a wonderful legacy. Children need to be taught to study, respect the Word of God, believe the Word of God, bind it to their heart, and look to the benefits. Remember the benefits. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with remembering. No matter what I'm going through now, the best is yet to come. Never lose that hope. Always hold on to it. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart, and live. How to teach. This is hard. How do I teach my child? I'm not a teacher. I don't know the Bible that well. I'm trying to learn it. So how do I teach? Well, there's two things I would hope I could impress on your mind to follow. Number one, it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time to raise your child in the image of God. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to see great results by the end of the week. It's going to take weeks, months, years to see the child that you hope to see for their sake, not for your own. And you can't get in a hurry. You can't expect great results immediately. You have to give time, because it's going to take time for children to grasp what you know, believe what you believe, practice what you practice. Think about how much time it took us to get in the straight and narrow path. I was 26 years old before I did, or 24. I don't know, somewhere around there, mid-20s. Took me a long time to find that path. Maybe it'll take a child that long. But you got to be prepared to expect it to take time. And then in other words, repetition. Over and over and over again. We have to teach the same things. Paul the Apostle wrote to the brethren at Philippi, He said, for me to write the same things to you is not tedious. By the word tedious, some translations have the word irksome. The ideal is it wasn't a problem for Paul. Most of the time we don't like to be tedious. Don't like to have to repeat ourselves. Tell a child once, you expect them to listen. But when you've told them the fifth time, you start getting a little bit irritated. Why won't you listen to me? Paul said, to repeat myself to you, it's not a problem for me. I'll repeat myself to you now and again. Why? Because for you it's safe. Repetition is safe. I had a teacher one time that told me repetition is the mother of learning. When you have something taught to you over and over and over again, you get to a point where I don't think you can forget it. It's burned into your head so strongly that it's there for life. But repetition is a good way to teach. You can't be nauseating teaching repetitiously, but don't be afraid to repeat what you've already taught. I've taught my child about baptism and what it means. Yeah, good. Teach them again someday. And then teach them again another day. Each time you teach them, they're going to learn a little something. They're going to add something to their book of understanding and knowledge. Repetition. Repetition and time. Time and repetition. Settle on it because that is necessary. You've got 20 years. Why get in a hurry? Take time. Dr. Laura Schlesinger wrote a book called Stupid Things Parents Do to Mess Up Their Kids. She's a psychologist, very popular. Well, back in the day she was. I guess now she might be not so much. But back in 98, University of Michigan study of 2,394 families across the nation, they found that fewer than half of parents said they found time for an adequate number of everyday activities with their children, such as looking at books, working on homework, talking, playing games, or preparing food. Found little time for such things. Now think about this, please. When parents can't find the time to hug, encourage, and develop relationships with their children, the damage can be enormous, affecting everything from brain development to future relations with spouses or children. She went on to say, basically speaking, when parents have overwhelmed themselves with demanding jobs, divorces, love affairs, serial marriages, chaotic step-families, and or single parenthood, they're often emotionally neglectful of their children, thinking that structured activities like school, daycare, or organized sports make up for one-on-one parent-child family experiences is just plain wrong. Now, sometimes situations like that can't be helped. Sometimes a mistake was made and a woman has a child without a husband. Sometimes husband leaves, the mother with the children, she's now a single parent. Sometimes people are single parents of no wrongdoing on their part. It just happens. Your life just got a lot harder. It's really hard. I can't imagine. Honestly, I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have my BR to help me raise kids. I'd have found a way, I reckon. I don't know what it would have been. But a lot of people, their lives are very, very difficult. Very difficult. And if we know people like that, we can step up and help a bit. There's nothing wrong with that. A little babysitting so mama can go grocery shopping or just go get her nails done. Something that gives her time to catch her breath a little bit. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. Because a single parent, whether male or female, they've got their hands full. They got a difficult job. And we should pray for them every day. But sometimes, and I got to tell you, something that irritates me beyond belief. We've had people we've been around for years. Well, I'm just going to say it. I know one woman I think about. She never fooled with her kids much at all that I ever saw. Their grandparents most of the time took care of them. When they were at home, when they did eat, it was just something quick, a bologna sandwich or a hot dog or whatever. Time, I guess she talked to them sometime or another, but I don't know. I never seen her fool with her kids much. And then when her kids got older, 15, something like that, they started getting into trouble. And she got to whining around to me. How hard she tried to raise her children right. And look how they turned out. And I try to always be gentle. But she got on my last nerve with a jackhammer, with all that whining around. And then one day I cracked. And I told her what the truth was. She left Center Grove after that. But you know, everybody knew the children were going to have a hard way to go when they got a little bigger. It wasn't because they were evil beings, they weren't. Matter of fact, they started out real nice kids. It wasn't because they were evil, it's because of things they were taught, things that weren't helpful. And it was so sad. Sometimes some children, the way they're raised, to me it looks like they don't stand much of a chance. I grew up with a guy, his name was Mitchie Keith. The meanest kid I ever knew. He'd steal money from me every time I turned around. Mom and Daddy sent me to the cleaners one day to pick up something down on the corner. Give me a $20 bill. I don't remember what it cost, but it wasn't much. I got my cleaning and started home. I stand there in the middle of Charlevoix. In the middle of Charlevoix. And Mitchie Keith come up to me. He said, "Let me see your money." I said, "I ain't got no money." Well, I lied. He said, "Let me see your money." I said, "I don't want to see my money." He got into my pocket and he got that money out. I objected. He slapped me around a little bit. I hushed. He got that money out and he started taking them bills and just throwing them out in the street. And here I was running after the ones, maybe a 5, I don't know. And he walked off with the most of it. He stole my bicycle at least 5 times. He stole my bicycle so much, I could call the cops and they'd go to his house and get it. They knew where it was going to be. He was the meanest kid I ever saw. And at first, boy, I really didn't like that kid. But then I got to where I felt sorry for him. One day I was over in a different neighborhood, and we were going down the alley, and I heard somebody yell at me, and I looked, and there was Mitchie Keith. He was tied to a clothesline, like I tied my dog. I tied a little rope to a clothesline rope to my dog around his collar, and I tied on the clothesline up there, and the dog could run back and forth the length of the clothesline. Well, that's the way his mama tied him up. And she'd go to work and leave him out there all day long. And there wasn't no shade to get in. He was out in the sun all day long. And you know, I found out through other people telling me and by what I seen also, sometimes he'd be out there for 2 or 3 days before she'd ever come home. There wasn't no daddy. He had a bunch of brothers. Oh, they were as mean as he was. I remember one, he went into Bernie's barbershop in the daytime, and he took the cash register, come out of the barbershop, walking down Charlevoix, and the cops come along, and there he was, walking down, carrying a cash register. Well, you know what the police did. They pulled him over and arrested him. I think they were all in prison. Mom was out doing whatever she did, and there's Mitchie Keith out there on his clothesline running back and forth. That was better than stealing my money, yeah, or my bicycle. But I did feel sorry for him. Some kids aren't raised very well. Talk to a school teacher, especially in the low grades. Talk to a school teacher. Let them tell you what they see sometimes. Unbelievable. I remember one time a kid was late for school. I think he was in the 2nd or 3rd grade, something like that. And the teacher was tired of that. He kept coming to school late, and she'd write notes home, and nothing ever got better. So one day she went by his house in the morning, and the kid was in there, and he was fixing breakfast for him and his kindergarten sibling. And they were running a few minutes late. And she saw what was going on, asked where the mother was. She wasn't home. And she got talking to the kid, come to find out this is why he's late. He has to fix breakfast for him and his little sibling before they come to school. He usually hasn't got enough time. Got to get her dressed and all that stuff. Teachers see a lot of that in Jackson County or Putnam County. Name the county, but there are people we live amongst that treat their children that way. And it breaks my heart. We need to reach out to such people. Maybe we can help a parent. Maybe a parent's desperate. I don't know. We can reach out to children. Maybe they just need somebody to care for them. Somebody to help them learn. There's a lot of wrongs done in our society. Let's try to make those wrongs right if we can. Doesn't hurt to try. I don't know what's wrong. I can't turn this thing. Eli, can you help me out, honey? I can't change the screen. Did I turn it off or did you turn it off? Well. Oh no. Huh? Yeah. Okay, appreciate it, honey. Look at these guys. They're great, ain't they? Every time I get in a pickle, they get me out of it. Wish I could eat that pickle, though. Family. That's what families are all about. raising children prepared to walk in the footsteps of Jesus. It takes a family. Of all the places God could have had children show up, he had children show up in the family. The family is the best place of all to train a child to become in the image of God. Don't let the opportunity slip by. Discipline, real quickly. Another method of training. Sometimes we don't think about it. Discipline is training, you know. Teaching, that's discipline. You're teaching a discipline. Training, that's what discipline is. Sometimes discipline is, it seems harsh to a child, but necessary from a parent's perspective. How about that? To correct our children, the question is, how do we go about it? How do we correct our children? Well, there's a lot of different ways, you know that. But back to Dr. Schlesinger again. A major source of today's parenting problem is the psychology, I don't know if that's even a word, of our culture. In Grandma and Grandpa's time, misbehavior was viewed as a moral issue of right and wrong. The old solution would be punishment. The goal of the punishment was to teach accountability, self-control, the consequences of wrong choices, thinking before acting, and the important fact that they are obligated to respect the rules of authority. And then she continued, and then came the shrinks that were going to save the world. I took a lot of psychology courses, so when I make fun, I'm making fun of me too, okay? It's nothing personal. The psychology community suggested that bad behavior is either the result of some psychological problem, like low self-esteem is a favorite, or some biological problem. Brain chemistry, food allergies are popular. Give them a pill. Solomon said, "He who spares his rod hates his son, but he who loves him disciplines him promptly." Now, the word hate that Solomon used it doesn't mean exactly what you and I think of when we think of hate. We have a lot of different kinds of words. It makes me angry, blah, blah, blah. I don't like him. I don't care for him. We got various degrees of those we find to be objectionable. Well, Solomon had two words to choose from, love and hate. Either you love something or you hate something. And then, of course, there's various degrees of love and hate, depending on the context. But when he talks about hating, he's not talking about hating like you would hate an enemy. But you stand against them. Why? Because you're not helping them. It's the job of the parent to help the child. And when you don't employ discipline, even maybe corporal discipline when required, it's because you're not willing to give or pay the price that is required to raise a child. Any parent that's ever spanked their child know that it hurts them more than it does the child. My daddy taught me that when I was a kid. This hurts me more than it does you. I never said it, but I thought, you're a lion. If it hurt you as much as it hurt me, you wouldn't do it. It didn't even make sense to me until I became a father. And then I understood the pain of punishing a child. Last thing on earth you want to do. But you got to do it. You know you got to do it because it's good for the child. If you don't, they're not going to learn anything. It's just a form of training, a form of teaching. And you're not going to kill them if you do it. He who loves a child, they're going to discipline him quick. Not going to let it get cold. If you let it go, you know, the child does something today and you spank them for it tomorrow, they don't know why they're getting a spanking. Or if they do it today and you ground them tomorrow, they don't understand why they're getting grounded now. You got to do it quickly so that the punishment can be connected to the crime, the infraction. Do not withhold correction from a child. If you beat him with a rod, he will not die. I'm living proof of that. If you beat him with a rod, he will not die. He will holler, but he will not die. And he'll live to fight another day. Hardest thing I ever had to do was with my children. I didn't have too much, I'll be honest with you. Most of the time, talking would work. And then there was Amanda, like her mama. I love that child so much. She sure was hard-headed. But I was glad she was. When she was 16-year-old and it come dating time, I never had to worry about my Amanda. Anybody try to mess with her, they wouldn't mess long. She put an end to it. You got to employ the type of punishment that suits the problem. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. Daddy wasn't lying. A child needs a parent, not a BFF. Be nice to be a friend with your kid all the time. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you got to be a parent. Sometimes you got to teach. You got to correct. You got to point. And it's not what the child wants to hear. It's not your job to be their best friend. God called you a mother. He called you a father, and he gave you a job. And he expects that job to be carried out. You're dealing with his children. That's his son, his daughter. You're secondary in the process. He gave them spirit. You may fashion the body, but he gave them spirit. That part of them which is going to live forever, God created that. You and I had nothing to do with it. We're raising his child, and he wants us to do it his way because it's the best way. Best way. Parental expectations must be reasonable and right. It's got to be reasonable what you expect. It's got to be right too. Expectations must be fair. You can't put more on a child than they're able to bear. Can't expect a 5-year-old child to lug an 80-pound suitcase. Got to be fair. Parents must communicate their expectations clearly. You have to make sure the child understands what you expect. You can't be vague. You've got to be clear. That's where repetition comes in. Make sure they understand, maybe to the point that they repeat it to you. But it has to be clear. The consequences also have to be made clear. If they're going to be punished for doing the wrong thing, they need to know it up front. Parents must listen to their children. Not listen at them, but actually listen to them. Hear what they say, understand what they mean. That's your baby. Be kind. Be gentle. Be appreciative. And follow through is essential. When we say we're going to do something, we got to do it. I got one I could tell you, but I ain't going to. Man, it's heard it too many times. So I'm going to pass on that one, baby. Doing what you said as you said you would do it. That's very important. I remember a time when I didn't think I'd ever have kids. Didn't want them, to be honest with you. And then I did want them. And I got them. And I straightened up. And I tried to do my best. and I love them more than air. And it's been one of the greatest joys of my life. I can't imagine what my life would be if one of those people lost their soul. I don't know what I would do. Make sure you don't know what you would do. Do your very best. Always do your best. If we're going to talk some more about this in weeks to come. If there's anyone here today who would like to become a Christian, or a Christian who would like to have our prayers, we hope you come while we stand and while we sing.